And we have to take that stigma off of them. Have you ever heard the saying, if it's worth doing right? You know what? That's wrong. The real truth is, if it's worth doing poorly first. Because we never do it right the first time. I mean, you know, we have a little toddler, you know, and they're crawling around, and we're at some family gathering, and the little baby, you know, for the first time, they climb up here onto the little chair, you know, and every focus of attention, you know, big family shindig. Focus, oh, look at little, you know, Johnny, little Mary, whatever. And of course, you know, the baby crawls up and, you know, gets on this chair, you know, and kind of looking around, and they plop down the diaper. Well, if you put our typical adult thought about if it's worth doing right onto that situation, we would look at that situation and say, well, Mary, if you can't walk any better than that, just quit. No, we get all, oh, look, you don't walk right the first time. You don't make your letters right the first time. You don't make a cake right the first time. You don't make jam right the first time. And we have to take that stigma off of our customers and free them up and say, it's okay to make mistakes. Because anything worth doing is worth doing poorly first. So what do they need to know? They need to know the importance of the farmer's market in the local economy. They need to understand that the dollars that they spend here are circulating back into the local bank, back into the car repair shop, back into the mechanic shop, back into the flower shop, that those dollars are circulating in that economy generally 7 times. Those dollars are not going out to some foreign bank in some boardroom 1,000 miles away. They need to understand that our food is safer than what they'll find down at the supermarket. Why is it safer? Because that industrial food system has inherent pathogenicity built into it. Our food is more nutrient dense. Think about it a minute. If we were trying to make a pathogen-friendly food system, let's say we have a committee here. Let's have a committee to design a food system that's pathogen-friendly, that's loaded with all, that creates a lot of pathogens. Okay? What would we do? Well, number one, we would have farms that only have one thing. I mean, we don't want to confuse the pathogens, you know, with diversity. We're going to just have one thing on this farm. It's going to be a dairy farm, or it's going to be a peach farm, or it's going to be a tomato farm. We're just going to have one thing. And then we're going to take that one thing and crowd it up together. I mean, we don't want the pathogens to spend a bunch of time trying to survive between hosts. You know, we want the hosts real close together so they can always just jump from one to the other and mutate and virulate and, you know, copulate. I mean, so they can just go, all right? And then, let's see, well, we don't want, you know, if it's animals especially, we wouldn't want them to have any sunlight. I mean, sunlight is a sanitizer, so we'll put them all in a building and put a roof over it so there can't be any sunshine. And then we'll make sure they don't get any exercise. I mean, exercise is healthy. We don't want any exercise, so we're going to cram them all up in little tight quarters so they can hardly even turn around. Put them in a crate, you know, on a slatted floor with 10 other cellmates. And we'll make sure they don't get any fresh air. I mean, fresh air is, you know, we want them to breathe in fecal particulate air, you know, that can abrade their tender mucous membranes and create abrasions and lesions that ooze blood so that this nitrogen and this ammoniated fecal particulate air can go right in, and the nitrogen can go right in to the bloodstream without going through any of the biological screens and rot out the kidneys and the liver and kill the animal so they can use more pharmaceuticals. And the pharmaceutical use will always have some survivors that will be more virulent, and then we can have MRSA and C. diff in our hospitals from mutated, newly violent. Ooh, that's cool. Okay, what have I just described? Modern, science-based industrial agriculture. Right? We need to present this to our folks. We need to, at our farm store, we buy, there's a new book out, CAFO, C-A-F-O, CAFO, Concentrated Animal Feeding Operation. It's an expensive book. If you buy 4 of them, you can get them wholesale for $25. They retail for $50. It's a huge, thick book, picture book. We sell those. We have them. We have them where customers can flip through so they can see graphically in real time while they're right there shopping. We want to create this contrast. People don't realize the inhumanity and the ridiculousness of the kind of industrial food that we produce. Food security. You know, what we represent is food in our town. I really appreciated the thought that there's only 2.5 to 3 days worth of food in Vancouver. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody said, "Where's the food in Vancouver?" and somebody said, and it was all in pantries and in canning jars and fruit leather and parched corn in jars and jars of dried beans and lacto-fermented kimchi and all this, food in our homes. That's where the food ought to be. When I go shopping, Teresa gives me a list. I go down to the basement. She cans about 800 quarts of stuff a summer. I just go down, she gives me a list. Applesauce, green beans, sauerkraut. I go shopping. That's food security. Not locked up in some warehouse at Costco 1,000 miles away. Integrity. Just the integrity of the transparency of knowing that food. They need to know that. And for the local ecology. That's all a part of that educational, that's the package people need to understand when they come down to farmers market and are buying local food. These are all important local issues. We need to be educating them about our farm story, our difference. You see, the problem though is that most of us farmers, we're not good marketers. Those of you who are market managers, I'm sure you wrestle with, well, why does John just come and just sit there? Well, because we're farmers. And we're farmers because we don't like people.
Absolutely true. Yes. That's true.
I mean, we love our tractor way more than our customer. Just let me go over the hill and be away from anybody and go, commune with tillage. Right? And so, many farmers need to not take their stuff down to farmers market. They need to send somebody else. Maybe a son, a daughter, a wife. If you don't have somebody, go find a defunct Amway distributor. They listen to the tapes, they're ready to sell. To sell, you need a gregarious storyteller schmoozer. And if you're not one, then find one. But I don't know how many times at farmers market I just go, you look down the road and they're just sitting there. Okay. Number 3, we need to be willing to expand. And by expansion, I mean leveraging our market, diversifying our product portfolio. If there's only one thing you hear me say about marketing, it'll be this. It's a lot easier to find 100 people who will spend $1,000 with you than 1,000 people who will spend $100 with you. The hard part in marketing is getting the customer. Once you have a customer, think about all the other symbiotic things you can do to leverage your loyalty and your brand name. Leverage that patronage. What else can they buy? How else can you package it? I mean, there are lots of different ways to package garlic, to package blueberries, to package other things. You can sell them individually, little packets, blueberry jam, I mean, juice, wine. I mean, you can take that product, you can value add it, you can tweak it, you can refine it, you can change it, you can do all sorts of things to create additional choice and leverage of your relationship with the customer who is desperate to buy more stuff. So they want to buy a greater variety. Let them do that. Speaking of that, part of the need in farmers markets, one of the biggest weak links that I've seen is that so many shoppers at farmers markets are nibblers. They're nibblers. When's the last time you heard somebody come up at farmers market and say, we're going to can green beans next week, could you bring me 3 bushels? Well, they can't even carry 3 bushels. They got Fifi on the leash over here, and they can't even, they can only buy what they can carry in one hand, so they're, going down. They don't buy green beans. They buy little, pickled green beans in a little tiny half-cup jar with a pretty little bow on top and a little, because that's what they can put in their little baggie, because Fifi's on the other leash. We've got to touch people with the idea that they need to move from nibblers to eaters. If the average people in a locale showed up at farmers market next week and actually bought all their food there, the farmers market would be wiped out in 10 minutes. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves with farmers markets, if I could be transparent with you, is that so many of the people come down. It's a social deal, and they're just nibblers. We need to quit social picking around the edges, and we need to move some food. And then we need to turn our customers into evangelists. Evangelists. We still today, when somebody calls, and if we can trace them to what we call a patron cheerleader, the next time that evangelist, that cheerleader comes and buys something from us, we just hug them and slobber all over them and say, what can I give you free? Free dozen eggs, a free flour, a free whatever, okay? You know what? Our cultures are starved for appreciation. Don't you get tired of being beat? You get beat at the gas station if you put your credit card in wrong. You get beat if you punch the wrong, if you delay 10 minutes punching the yes-no switch, beep, beep, beep. Speak to me. You go to the supermarket, beep, beep, beep. You go around by a truck, beep, beep, beep. And everything's being beat. We're being beat to death. And this is something that we can show our people. They're not just something we beep at. They're not just a SKU number. They're not just a UPC number. They're a person. We can go and we can hug them. We can touch them. We can call them by name. We can, we need to know what their kids' names are. We need to know, are they divorced or married, or are they having marital problems? Call a counselor for them. We need to wrap our arms around these people. That's what this relationship's about. Send them, do you know your customers at farmers market? You know when their kids' birthdays are. Find out. Send them a birthday card. You know what that means to a customer? To be touched that way? That's worth more than anything you could imagine. It's the best advertising. It's the best PR. It's the best everything. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. If you've got a customer in a hospital, go send them a get well card. Better than that, go visit them. Send the care if it's the main cook in the family, send a casserole over. Okay, this is what we have to understand. We are fundamentally not just skipping lightly a little bit different than the supermarket. We are fundamentally different. And so what is it that we can do that the supermarket can't do?